What's up, bosses? Welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Jonte, and today we have the founder of the Body Ministry, Miss Cassandra Juniphant. Now, Miss Juniphant has built a private online health club for women quietly building themselves, and she's helping us live our best lives today on what she means business. So, ladies, grab those cups and those notepads, and let's get down to it. The meeting is now in session. Welcome, Miss Juniphant.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to meet you and to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get into today's conversation?
I am.
Let's go. So take us back to the beginning. What was happening in your life that pushed you towards building something rooted in health, wellness, and leadership?
Well, being a woman in America, and this was 14, 15 years ago, so in the early 2000s, and it's necessary, I think. But I mean, to more specifically answer your question, it's the trying to navigate life, as my best self and not really having answers. So, this all started because I, like a lot of women, wanted to lose the baby weight. I was struggling to lose the weight with my youngest child. I had my first when I was in my 20s. Weight came off more or less. In my 30s, completely different situation. And at the time, I also happened to be working in corporate. And when I looked into losing the baby weight, I stumbled into bodybuilding.com actually, and that's how I ended up losing the baby weight was getting started in bodybuilding, which is not a natural kind of progression, but that was mine. And I learned so much about my body. I fell in love with my body actually, and it completely changed my life. And like I said, this is at the same time that I'm working in corporate, and the more I'm learning about my body and engaging with my body. So I go from bodybuilding to yoga to martial arts. I owned a gym. Just I fell in love literally as I'm doing all of those things on as my side hustle to corporate. My corporate career goes just like this. It's taking off. Like I'm getting promotions, I'm getting raises, all the most amazing things are happening. And I realize that all of the lessons, all of the discipline, all of the things that I was learning by taking care of my body translated to the work that I was doing in corporate. And so it shouldn't be surprising that other people noticed and started treating me like the leader that I am. And me drawing that correlation and having that understanding that connection, I realized there was something there that a lot of people don't talk about. We talk about the gym and taking care of your body as though it's this separate thing that women do out of vanity and out of, peer pressure or societal pressure, beauty standards. We really have, I think, previously, it's not as bad today, but have previously put health and wellness in this corner. And I thought, no, health and wellness is what's making me a great mother. It's what's making me a better partner. It's what's making me an emotionally regulated boss. Nobody could throw angry black woman at me. I was too damn happy. You know what I mean? And so, in understanding, and I didn't even touch on the spiritual aspect of everything that I was learning and growing through spiritually at this time. But as I began to put all these pieces together, I was like, people don't know this. I didn't know this. And so, because I didn't see me, I didn't see what I was experiencing out there on the market, I decided that I wanted to start sharing. And my business started off, just doing that, sharing on social media. This was again years ago, and this is before social media was what it is today, but people were just getting started in sharing selfies at the gym, and they were just getting started to just share, pictures or videos of them making things in their kitchen. This is back when Instagram only had 15-second clips, so you couldn't do much, but I was sharing in those ways because I was so excited about what I was learning and how it was changing my life that I knew that it would do the same for other women. And so I just shared from my heart.
Absolutely. And I definitely identify with a lot of what you, because I had my first child at the age of 30, and sure enough, I gained over 150 pounds and was like almost 300 pounds when I gave birth to her. And I just remember I couldn't get, run behind her and keep up with her. And so I started my own exercise routine. And for the first time in my life, I literally stayed consistent with it. And I was able to lose almost 100 pounds in that process. So
Congratulations.
but again, in my 30s, I knew because I had heard it before, it's hard to lose weight in your 30s. And so knew I had to create a routine to where I could stay sustainable and keep the weight off. And I ended up started working for the government. And sure enough, I was just like you in the government, you know, being seen as the leader that I am. I was not known as the angry black woman either. I was just known as the person that was always happy and things like that. And it really came from maintaining that exercise routine of,
Yeah.
at my desk all day, definitely going out and, getting that walk in when I really could. And most of the time I would spend my lunch break and things like that, making sure I was getting in my cardio. So again, I definitely identify with it. And then the spiritual aspect of it as well. You literally learn a whole lot about yourself, about your body, and it literally changes your life. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that one, because we have kind of the same story there with, having the babies, wanting to lose the weight, being
Yeah.
top leadership positions in, corporate and government agencies and things like that. So thank you for sharing with our audience, because I definitely was worried after I gave birth after the age of 30 and, maintaining that weight.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
So let's talk about when you first had the idea of your brand. What did you see that others were not paying attention to at the time?
So a couple of things happened. Like I said, I was working in corporate, and I ended up being laid off in August of 2021. And at that point, I'd had a good 10 years of this health and wellness side hustle. And when I got laid off, it never occurred to me to dust off my resume and get another job. I thought, this was COVID. This is 2021. For the first time, people were paying attention to their health in a way they hadn't in a really long time. At that time, I was a single mother. I was a vice president of HR in corporate, and I felt uniquely positioned to bring health and wellness to women in a way that nobody else could. I know what it's like to be a single mother working in corporate and be healthy and fit. And I thought, well, I can help. Let me go into the market and help women. Let me serve. And so that was when I found out we were being my company was being acquired and we were going to be laid off. I had a little bit of runway there to kind of formalize all of the things that I'd been doing over the last 10 years informally, and began to think about, what kind of business would I want to put together. And to answer your question about, what was missing in the market, it wasn't just health and wellness, because there was a lot of health and wellness, but it felt like it was very, the only word that comes to mind is immature. It felt like, and it still feels to a certain degree, that health and wellness and the way we approach it, and I'll speak specifically about women because I only really work with women, that we still have had this narrative about it being about getting flat abs and a fat ass, and that it's very, very wellness is very aesthetic, and it's very much performance driven. And I don't mean performance in terms of getting a workout, but performative in terms of how it looks and feels. It's about the matching sets and the matchas and the wellness retreats. It just, and so when I was looking at all of that, I thought all of this is great, but where's the depth? Where is the transformation? This changed my life. And I know this will help other women if they know that it has the possibility of being more than just a look. And one of the things that really was ringing in my head, my daughter, who's now a teenager, but at the time, I don't know, she was not, she was a young teen. And I came across something where she said that she pretended to be me, that she pretended to be like her mom. And I could boohoo right now thinking about that. But that really touched my heart. And I remember thinking, this is the missing piece, is that there's little girls who are growing up adoring their mothers and naturally, right? But these mothers, are we aware of that one, but then intentional about what we're sharing with our daughter. What are the lessons that they're teaching? The discomfort that I had with my body, the lack of knowing what to do to lose the baby weight, all of that stuff came because of what I observed in my mother. And I thought, oh, well, I have an opportunity here to change the narrative, not just for my family and the legacy that I want to leave behind, but for every woman who intends on being that curse breaker and pattern breaker in her family for both health and wealth. And so when I founded the Body Ministry, it really was the idea of legacy. It really was with the idea of I want little girls growing up wanting to be like their mother. And then one day when they're like, Mommy, how can I be like you? Mom can easily turn around and say, join the Body Ministry. This is where I learned how to take care of my body. This is where I learned how to be in relationship with myself. This is where I learned how to accept the spiritual being that I am. This is where I learned my power. This is where I learned how to rest. This is where I learned how to nourish my body. That all of the things that you see my young, beautiful daughter in me growing up is because I found this space that holds the entirety of modern womanhood. And so I really, I draw a lot of inspiration from like this is might sound weird, but like from Jet Magazine and Essence Magazine, those were the magazines that were sitting on my living room table when I was growing up, and they just feel like strong Black legacy establishment. And so when I was building my business, I wanted to feel like that. That's what's behind it. I felt like that's what was missing in the market was that there is an entire demographic of women, specifically Black and brown women, who are professionals who no one is talking to about the realities of being a professional woman, specifically with children today. Like no one is talking to her. We always talk about, again, the aesthetics of it, or specifically when it comes to the Black community and we start talking about health and wellness, we automatically defer to the most vulnerable among us. We instantly start talking about food deserts and access to care. And I understand that. And I'm so proud of us for being so community driven and wanting to be there for one another. But I'm also making sure that I'm clear that I'm talking to you, sis, the one who just got back from vacation in Tulum, who has the Louis bag. You don't have a food desert. You've got access to care. So as we talk about health and wellness, and you're pointing over there saying, well, here's where we need to focus. I get that, but I'm focusing on you. I've got your back because nobody else does. And so that's a long-winded way to kind of bring together the three elements really that are at the foundation of my business. It's just the timing was right. It's divine. It's perfect. There's little girls out there who aren't, there's women first, but they're raising girls who don't know about our body. We don't have rites of passage and conversations, intimate conversations about our hair care, our menstrual cycles, body care, not dieting, but just care. We aren't having those conversations. And then specifically for the most, I'll say, dominant demographic of people in the world, Black and brown women, who are completely ignored when it comes to this industry. I'm her, I'm you. We can do this. And so that's what led to the Body Ministry.
Absolutely. And you hit on all the major. Because if you go on social media now, you see everybody going to the gym. You see everybody getting all these what do you call them, coaches and things like that. And sure enough, they're a month into it, or 2 months into it, and now they slandering everybody on the internet because they're not losing the weight, and they're going, I'm starving myself and I'm still not losing the weight. And then you have all these dream teas and
Yep.
pills and
Yep.
stuff like that. And Ozempic completely changed the entire world. And
Good.
I know a few people that did try it and literally hate how they look now. And so
Yeah.
I've literally just watched how fitness has literally turned into this market of pretty much, if you don't have a coach, or if you're not taking these meds or taking these teas or dieting this way, you're pretty much failing at life. When in reality, with me, I ended up just doing YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I specifically focused on Black women fitness trainers. And,
Yeah.
you know, I identified with them more because it was, of course, I'm a Black woman, so it's like, okay, they know what it is that I need, and of course, I couldn't keep up with them at the beginning, but I did. I kept pushing myself, and sure enough, I started to lose the weight, and my body started to, feel a whole lot better. But I'm telling you, like I see it every single day, all day. Like women are literally just draining themselves, and you got women out here that want to start weightlifting and things like that, but haven't started at the basics of getting to understand how their body works, the types of routines that they need to. And I mean, it really has, Miss Juniphant, right?
Mhm.
It really has turned into like I call it like I don't know what to call it, really, honestly, but I do. I see women really trying, but they don't know how to try, and
Yeah.
they're just doing what's popular. And sure enough, if they don't lose the weight, they're blaming everybody. But honestly and truly, I agree with you. You do. You have to understand. You have to get in there and get that knowledge, and
Yeah.
understand what's really going on with your body, because a lot of women, can't necessarily lift weights, but there are other options to help you lose that weight.
And I think that's a great point, and that's another piece that I found was missing in the market. That well, when I first launched my business in 2021, I have a background. I was a certified personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and I thought, okay, let me get out there and meet women where they're at. Women want workouts. Women want to know how to move their body, and I can do that easily. And I hated it because it wasn't getting to the root of the issue. And what's missing in the market is the understanding that our workouts are only about 20% of our results, 20% or less. And that true body transformation, whether you want to grow muscle or you want to lose weight, that happens in the other 80% of your life outside of the gym. And so I actually pivoted my business and dropped all of the fitness that we don't do. You can't go to the body ministry and get a workout. I have some core work stuff because that's really more about leadership and posture, but there's not like hardcore workouts in the body ministry. It's everything else that a woman needs. And what I have found is that most women actually don't have a hard time getting to the gym and working out. Like if you're in that mindset, getting to the gym is the easiest part. It's the other hours of the day. What do you eat? How do you relax? How do you recover your body? How do you de-stress? Just there's so many aspects to what it takes. There's 80% more that no one's addressing. And that is the specific void that the body ministry fills is, what do I do before I go to work out? What do I do after I work out? What do I do on the weekends? What do I do on vacation? How do I just live? How do I just exist? Like, let's say you go on a vacation and you don't have your gym and you don't have your supplements. Are you going to spiral and crash out because you don't have, or do you know how to live healthy? And that's really what I'm teaching, and not even teaching. There is some teaching in there, but it's more so mentorship and guidance on how to live as a healthy person regardless of what your circumstances are around you. It's teaching you how to have the mindset of reaching for the best option in any circumstance. So your body transformation isn't about this specific tea or this specific, you know, peptide injection. It's not about doing this many steps and doing this kind of, glute workout. Like when we get so granular and specific like that, that's what causes the overwhelm and the stress, because you think, oh, this is going to be the magic thing that gives me this fantastic figure, and it's not. It's a multitude of things that all work together for the good of you. And in the absence of what you knowing those things are, you're more prone to over index on the one thing you see everybody doing, which is working out. And then to your point, women end up getting to a point where they can't even work out because their body is so depleted and or damaged that the workouts do more harm than good. And so, one of my key things, principles and tenets in the body ministry is stabilization before optimization. We do a lot of optimizing. The optimizing are the peptides. That's all these supplements. That's all of these other things. It's the biohacking, which I believe in these things. So let's not get that twisted. And before all of that, the stabilization of my body is my priority. It's doing the basics to make sure that all of those things that I'm layering on top to optimize actually have a good foundation to build on. Otherwise, those things that you're doing to optimize your body are hiding the broken foundation and will crumble right along with it at some point. And you're going to be wondering what's wrong. You spent all the money, you hired all the experts, and you're like, what's wrong? Well, the foundation. You're stable, you were never stabilized first. And the first thing in medical care, everyone knows, is that you stabilize the body. And so we oftentimes, not just sometimes, women arrive at this discovery that, hey, I want to get in shape. That's usually on the heels of something that was breaking her body, depleting her body. The last thing she needs to do is go into the gym and put crazy demands on it to perform. Stabilize your body first. And so I got a little off track there, but stabilization is really, really important. And just the idea and understanding in general that your health and well-being is more than just your workouts. That still is, I think, a huge missing piece in the market and where the body ministry, I think, dominates.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love that you said that because I can't tell you like I even at the beginning was doing the same thing. Oh, you got to do it 5 times a week and you got to do it for this amount of hours. And I was only losing 1 pound, but just as sure as I changed up my eating habits, started putting that rest in, the
Yep.
started falling off, and I went down to 4 days a week of exercising. And so I absolutely love that you said that, because it's a combination of things. And I got to a point where I didn't have to do that 20 minutes of exercise per day. I just had to take a 10-15 minute power walk, and that just it fit with my body. I got to know my body, and of course, still eating right and making sure I'm maintaining that, and of course, getting rest in, because I can't tell you, it's some women out there that can gain weight due to stress as well.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Oh, that was great.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Talk about what were the earliest challenges you faced when turning your vision into a genuine business, and how did you navigate that?
Yeah. Wow. The earliest challenges are actually still some of my current challenges, believe it or not. It's staying true to what I know to be true. So again, in this world, in this industry, everyone wants the workout. There is an idea. When I tell you that I work in self-care, you're going to have a mental image. When I tell you that I work in health and fitness, you're going to have a mental image. And neither one of those are going to be actually what I do. And so I often find myself in this place of re-educating or educating in general. And education is not my business. I don't want my business to be education. I want my business to be service. And so what's been challenging, especially in the beginning, when I come out into the market and I'm like, I have something that's going to change your life, guaranteed, full stop. Like, I don't need to say anything more. This is going to change your life. And it's taking care of your body outside of the gym. And everyone's like, wait, what about the workout? What do you mean? And I get feedback and I get direction from so many people outside of me telling me that I'm doing something that doesn't make sense, or that they don't understand, or that the market doesn't understand. There's not a need for it. People aren't asking for what I have to offer, that I need to meet people where they are and then give them what I think they should have. Like, there's so many opinions about the fact that I'm offering a service that's not traditional. I don't know anyone else who's doing what I'm doing. There's social type wellness clubs, there's, that kind of thing, but it still comes down to workouts ultimately, and that kind of a business model. And so when I first started, I gave in. Like I said, I started with fitness because I was like, well, I want to do this other thing, but people don't know what I'm talking about quite yet. So let me use my personal training background. Let me use my yoga instructor background and teach classes and do these things. And like I said, I hated it. It wasn't reaching women in the way that I know they desire to be reached. And so like I said, I eventually shut that down and pivoted and rebranded and did the thing. But even today, my major obstacle is people fully understanding the service that I provide. And some of that's on me, but it's it's a matter. So there's two things. It's like it's on me to figure out my messaging, my positioning, my marketing, my branding. That's a business owner's responsibility. The challenge is Cassandra Juniphant, just the Black woman who's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Can I run a business? Can I really do this? How am I, how dare I go on the market with this thing? There's so many other businesses, and it's the self-doubt, it's the limiting beliefs, it's the standing by my word, it's the having my own back, it's the getting through that emotional piece of, I want to do this thing. I feel like I was born to birth this thing, and having belief and confidence in myself to stand my ground in that. That's the challenge I ran into the beginning. And that's the challenge that I still face daily. It shows up, like I said, with my positioning. It shows up with my marketing. It shows up with my sales and things like that. And how, as a business owner, I have to not push, actually, I need to heal and address those feelings so that I can continue to show up. Because by and large, from what I hear from other successful business owners, is that doesn't really go away. Like that feeling, those feelings of doubt and disbelief or self-limiting beliefs, it doesn't really go away. Even if your business is in a great place, something will happen in the market. COVID comes, we enter a war, we have tariffs now from China. Like there's different things in the market that'll have you questioning your ability to successfully navigate and own and manage your business. And so in understanding that this is just par for the course, like even it's that helps to know. And so yeah, ultimately, to answer your question, the challenges that I faced in the beginning, I think are the challenge I know are the challenges I face today, and are the entrepreneur's journey. And I'm still learning to roll with it, even almost 5 years later.
And I think that every entrepreneur goes through that same thing. And we're living in a very closed-minded society right now where in one box, either your wellness or either your self-care. And self-care to a lot of people is right now is journaling and going outside and sitting in nature, and wellness is straight exercise. And
Yep.
else is not talking about to eat, is not talking about what vitamins to take or supplements to take. It's literally you got to exercise and you got to literally break your body in half. And so when we're living in a society like that, it does become hard to put yourself out there, and but you're doing it, and that's what matters the most. Because
Yeah.
and a lot of people, they're stepping into a more spiritual aspect. So let's talk about that for a second. Your work sits at the intersection of wellness and spirituality. How
Yes.
did you intentionally shape that positioning in the market?
It's a tricky thing because there is no body ministry without spirituality. It is the root of it all, like, or the seed from which everything sprouts. And to what degree do you communicate that to the market versus letting it be understood? That's part of the positioning. That's part of the marketing conversation that I'm constantly having with myself, because we've got short attention spans. It's just human nature to use heuristics to find shortcuts in how to categorize somebody so we can easily understand. And so if you use spiritual language, depending on who you're talking to, they can receive that as spirituality, like hermetic spirituality, or some people can receive it as non-denominational spirituality. Or if someone is in a religion, they're going to interpret it as being spirituality as it pertains to their religion. And so, in understanding that when I use spiritual language, I'm opening it up for interpretation depending on where that person's coming from. That causes me to pause to say, okay, does this belong in marketing language? Does this belong in my branding versus letting it be something that's let it be understood and then more fully discovered once you're on the inside, because the context is so much clearer there. You can only, when you're marketing, you've got 10 seconds to communicate something, and context can be tricky, especially again in my world where I feel like I'm already kind of dancing between explanation and education and then just my desire to serve. I don't want to add another layer of spirituality then that needs to be deciphered. And so largely when it comes to my marketing, I don't use a lot of spiritual language. I think it's really heavily inferred and implied. I mean, just the name ministry alone carries a lot of spiritual weight for people. And sometimes people have asked me, is this religious? And I have to explain that it's not. It's spiritual, but that's what I mean by kind of letting people have their questions and find identity in the other ways in which I come to market and share my services. And then once on the inside, there's so much more space for conversation and questions and providing the proper framework for how spirituality shows up in our body and then our day to day.
Absolutely. And I agree with that because spirituality, it can look different for anybody and everybody. And, you can end up in some real bad, conversations if you're not, literally offended to that particular person, whatever they believe in at the time. And, but at the same time, it's one of those things where, you have to be very careful in how you market yourself. And I just love the fact that you keep it not necessarily private, but you make it so individualized to when the person actually comes in, we're going to break it down for you versus say, oh, hey, here you go, social media, interpret it the way that you want to interpret it. So I absolutely love that perspective because I'm telling you, everybody's using that word spirituality nowadays. And, it can literally mean anything for everybody. So
It really can. And I will say this, though, that recently, like literally as of the last 72 hours or so, I decided that I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here when it comes to the marketing and spirituality. I'm hosting a free event in July called The Mystic, and it is for women who are deeply spiritual and are beginning to discover the spirituality of their body, who are beginning to understand that they're receiving messages and that there's synchronicities taking place when it comes to their body as a vessel and their body as a temple. And part of that free event that I'll be hosting online is doing an intuitive reading using tarot cards. And that is a huge step for me in terms of spirituality and bringing that to the market. And I'm doing that, one, because I have too much evidence now of how much this helps women. I've been kind of doing it privately on the side, quietly, and the messages that I've received from people and the testimonies that I get when women finally have just a little bit more insight into themselves, into their body, into the energies that we don't have a fluid language for, but we all feel. When I'm able to tap into that and talk to them, it's so relieving. And so because I now have all of that, I am willing to take a chance with this event and say, I have no idea what's going to happen. This might drive everyone away because it's too woo woo, it's too weird, it's too, who knows how they might receive it. So it's a risk, it's a gamble that I'm taking. And we'll see what happens from it. I'm really, really excited about the potential, though. The call was made because the potential for how many women I can serve far outweighs. I can't even begin to quantify what it would, the negative side of it. I have no idea, and I don't won't give any time to it. I just know that there's so many women that will be served through this event. So, yeah, when we first, kind of started talking about doing this podcast and everything, that was not on the table at all. This has literally been within the last couple of days that I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and we're, gonna pray about it, meditate on it, and see what happens. But it's for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to receive. So
absolutely. And that's one thing about being an entrepreneur. You have to take risk
you
and
do.
worry about who's gonna think what. You just have to take those risks, and you never know. It might be the biggest win yet. So that, but you heard it here first. So definitely about it in
Yes, you did.
the episode, but you heard it here first. She's having is it called the Mystic?
It is called The Misted. It's for women who have a burning desire more. And it's a free online workshop where women can learn more about discovering their higher self through their body.
Absolutely. And another thing that, because we just kind of really talked about this is branding. And
Mm.
so let's talk about that for a second. What did building your brand look like behind the scenes in the beginning, and what were you doing consistently that made the difference?
Wow. So in the beginning, I came hot out the gate. I hired one of the best graphic designers that I am aware of here in the Bay Area, and she is fabulous. She really took me through an amazing discovery process. Some of the things that we were talking about during this interview about, the legacy and kind of the brands that I admire, like Essence, and she really captured all of that and put it into my branding, and it was for a business. The interesting thing is actually she caught my heart. My branding that she designed, that I approved, that I loved, was the heart that I have today in the services that I have today. And when I took that into the market, the branding was beautiful, but I couldn't hold the energy of it. I collapsed under the pressure of people telling me, well, what about fitness? And so I took her branding and tried to change it and contort it so that it fit more traditional fitness, gym stuff. And it didn't work. It didn't work at all. Like, it wasn't, branding is very emotionally driven. It's very heart centered. And you can't take a heart centered, beautiful brand and throw a new set of text copy on top of it and say, well, here's the new thing. It doesn't match the colors, it doesn't match the script, it doesn't match. And so it was a mess. And so for, let's see, I probably lived with that mess for a good 2 to 3 years, and it was always painful. I'll be honest with you, trying to take this beautiful idea and twist it and contort it and make it fit something that it was never intended to fit. And it was only a year or so ago that I completely scrapped it. I can't afford her right now. I don't have the budget for the woman that I had hired before. But one of the beautiful things that has happened since then is AI. And I was an early adopter with AI. For whatever reason, I had an interest that was like, I don't know what this is exactly, but I need to know more. And I took classes early on, like 3 years ago. And so I've been very fluid and comfortable with it since. And so when I scrapped my old branding, AI was still getting started, but I was able to start designing things and asking questions about branding. There's several books that I had had, and I was like, hey, I want to take this branding idea I learned in this book and apply it towards my business. How do we do that, Chat GPT? And then since then, AI has gotten amazing, and I've been able to use it to literally craft the emotion and craft the story and the sense of belonging that I hope women feel when they enter my space and they enter the body ministry. And so like I said in the beginning, it was beautiful, and then it became painful because I changed and I pivoted so much, and I was trying to make two worlds work that didn't work. And giving that whole thing up was the best decision I could have possibly made. But of course, my business mind is, oh my gosh, you spent X amount of thousands of dollars on this. How dare you? But it was a good business decision to make. And I'm glad that I made it. And since then, I've had the freedom to rebrand myself with a blue ocean, a completely clear canvas of who am I today? Who are the women I'm speaking to today? And going from there and giving myself that clean slate. I don't even know how to tell you like what that does for my nervous system. It just completely calmed me, and it's like, whew, okay, I don't have to force this. I can make this. I can create this. I am a creator. So let me create what I want. And so that's the space that I've been in, and I really, really love it here.
Absolutely. And shout out to graphic designers and because they put hard work and dedication
They
into
really do.
become major household names. And I worked in graphic design and social media management for during the COVID time. And I was helping smaller businesses create logos and things like that. And sure enough, a lot of them did exactly what you did, took it and went and changed it, and came back a couple of months later and told me, girl, what did I do? What did I go wrong? And and so it was one of those things. I told him, I said, you didn't technically go wrong. You just literally had a different change in vision, and there's nothing wrong with it. And
No.
with the advancement of AI, I think it has given a lot of people the opportunity to start their entrepreneurship journey, because everybody can't necessarily start off a foreign graphic designer to create branding. So a lot of people have turned to AI, and a lot of people are very critical of it. However, do you understand that this person that is behind the creation of this AI content is a vision? It's literally what they want to see. It's literally their branding. It's their view of how they see their business. So even with AI and using AI to create graphics or create, content or whatever, it is literally still that person's vision. Like, you literally have to know how to plug stuff into AI. And I love the fact that you brought up classes, because I just recently took a course, but and the AI queen herself was actually doing it, Miss Alicia Little. And she taught so many different aspects of AI. But literally, if you are using AI, you have, and for all my critical people out there, understand that the person still has to control what AI is putting out. So stop being so critical of AI, because I mean, it literally still is the same vision, just not being done by a graphic designer.
Yeah, I honestly believe AI has made me a better business owner because it forces me to get clear. When I've sat down with AI and I have an idea or I want to create something and it comes out completely off the wall wrong, that's not AI. That's my prompting. It has forced me to get back into my head and really refine and ask myself questions and get super duper clear. The quality of the output is 100% predicated on the quality of the input. And so in so many different aspects of running a business, everything from onboarding to the processes in between, not just the marketing and the branding that you do up front, but everything that I have behind the scenes that makes this experience for women when they walk into the body ministry is beautiful and seamless, because um, I've been engaging in an ongoing conversation with AI that's forcing me to get clear and have answers and to refine processes. Sometimes it'll be like, well, what about this? And I was like, oh crap, that's a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. Let me make sure I've got a process for that, or I have something. But it really, I understand all of the naysayers when it comes to AI. And to your point, there is so much good. There is such an upside for people who have dreams. And I can't say enough about, if anyone listening to this or watching this and you're like, I have a dream in my heart, I just have no idea where to begin. Sit down with ChatGPT and just give it your dream, and then ask it to ask you questions. Be like, here's my dream. Now ask me questions. Like, that could be the whole first prompt, and let it go from there. But it gives you just unlimited opportunity, and I think that's one of the things that I needed. It's because I can be very, I don't know what the word is, but very specific. And so I remember when I was working with my graphic designer and how I'd have an idea or a thought, or I wanted to say something differently, and I'd send her a text or a message and feeling bad, like, oh, here she's going to be like, oh, here she goes again, changing things or wanting more. I remember feeling bad because we had a package and this was what was in the package, but then I'd see some other brand do something. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if I could do that too. And so I'd ask her and she'd throw it in for me. And I remember just feeling bad, like, am I asking for too much? But there's none of that with AI. I will fire off questions and refine and make it do all sorts of things. Like, just no, that's not good enough for me. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And it just does it. And so if you have that in you, if you're that kind of woman who is specific and you know what you want, and you have sometimes felt some type of way about asking for it just because it feels like it's too much, AI is going to be your best friend, because you can refine and refine and refine. And it feels so good to get granular and specific about your vision. It's the most liberating thing that there is. And so, yeah, I'm a big proponent. You're a woman who is looking for the best next step. You don't know, you don't have the full picture, but you want the best next step. Sit down and have a conversation with AI. And I'll say this one last thing about the branding is that I encourage people to go back through my Instagram. If you ever have a chance to go to the Body Ministry or even just me, Cassandra Juniphant, just scroll all the way back. And I want you to see the number of times I've pivoted. I want you to see the number of times I've changed. I want you to see the number of times, and it's all there. That's the beautiful thing about social media. I know people have talked about, oh, wipe it clean. You can archive, start fresh with your new branding. And I'm like, no, I want you to see it. I want other business owners, I want other women who are coming up and who might see me today and be like, oh my gosh, she's whatever you think of me. I want you to see the journey that I've been through. It's all there. It's undeniable. And I love that for me and the women who are coming up beside and after me to see that I have had to live out loud my mistakes, my passions, my desires, my dreams, my pivots, my corrections. It's all there. And so when they tell you that this is a journey and they tell you that you're going to change everything a bazillion times and you feel frustrated because you're behind and you just want to get there, I want my page to be confirmation that this is what it looks like. You might do better than me, and I hope you do. You might have more changes and pivots than me, but at least you know you're not alone.
Absolutely. And, you know, behind branding as well as, setting up yourself to actually be in the marketplace, it could definitely come with another issue that a lot of entrepreneurs have is sustaining that credibility. So let's talk about credibility for a second. How have you approached establishing your credibility and trust in an industry that's clearly oversaturated right now?
I don't know that I think about credibility. That's a great question. What I really make sure to do is stay true to my heart. Because to your point, or you didn't say this, but if you were to go look at my Instagram, you would see design branding changes all over the map, like literally all over the map. And I could see where somebody who looks at that could say, oh my gosh, what is she doing? Is she credible? She seems to change her mind all the time about the direction of her business. I could see where somebody would say that. And if you are looking for understanding, you will see the tie that binds. You will see the common thread. You will see the truth that has always been front and center. It's looked different. It's been explained multiple different ways, but there's been a core central truth that I've always stuck with. Even when I kind of collapsed in the beginning and was doing fitness stuff, it'd be weird because you'd see me posting a video of, me going to the gym, working out, doing all these sorts of workouts, but I had some kind of spiritual quote on it. You know what I mean? Like that was always there. And so I say that to say that the credibility, I don't think is something, at least in my experience, it wasn't something that I was intentional about building. What I was intentional about doing was communicating my truth. And I believe that when you look back over that over time, the credibility is built that way. I don't know that I've built it here going forward. I've built it by being true in this moment, every moment. And then when I take a look back behind me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's credible. That makes sense. It all is so cohesive and coherent. But I don't know that I've built forward intentionally that way, if that makes sense.
It does. And,
Okay.
for a person like me, if I was to go down your page or any person page that, have rebranded themselves or anything like that, I would go, not necessarily is this person credible. I would go, this person didn't give up. They literally just kept going. And see, that's another thing where I said you have to stop being so simple minded, because that's literally what it really is about. Everybody has a moment where they have to pivot. If you look at, I take Beyonce for example. Beyonce done hit all genres of music, but she's still singing, which is the main aspect of it. She's still dancing, which is still her main entire, brand. So it's one of those things of, instead of thinking that the person is not credible, start thinking that person didn't give up. So that does now make them very credible in what they're doing, because you got a lot of simple minded people out there that literally want to keep you in a box, don't think you ever supposed to grow, And but for me, just knowing entrepreneurship and knowing and working with entrepreneurs for quite some time now, is literally one of those things of where I make it based off of, I don't care how many times you done changed the logo, I don't care how many times you done changed your brand and colors. All I want to know is, do you give up? And that to me makes you credible in my book. Now, let's talk money for a second. What were your first streams of income, and how have you expanded or refined your monetization strategy over time?
Yeah, so girl, it was not cute. Well, let me not say that because it is a very profitable business. But I started off, like I mentioned, doing personal training in like in person, online training. I would do group classes. I did yoga. I did mostly yoga classes. I didn't do any one-on-one personal yoga. Boot camps. I mean, all the physical fitness stuff. And that is done by the hour. You were literally, in most of those cases, some online training was recorded and you're able to kind of watch back. But in most cases, it is a literal exchange of time for money. You go teach a yoga class for an hour, hour and a half, and then you receive your pay. And I'm not built to work that way. It works well. I don't want to speak down or poorly of people who run businesses where it is that kind of exchange for money. It just didn't work well for me. And so when I was uh, designing my business, one of the things that was really important to me was, one, I don't want to exchange time for money, and then two, what that really also says is that I'm the bottleneck in my company. Unless I'm performing, I can't receive income. And that didn't feel like the direction and the vision that my company belonged in. It wasn't even about what I wanted. That's not what the body ministry is here to be. And so and then after that, I actually switched over for a little while from B2B, where I stopped doing training altogether and took my corporate background and went back into corporate to help with wellness talks, wellness seminars, just wellness in the corporate workspace. And that pays more. It's still kind of by the hour, but it pays much more, but there's a much longer sales cycle with that. So when you do a class, people just show up. People want personal training. It's a quicker sales cycle. Somebody sees you online, it's like, sure, I'll, do that. When it comes to B2B, you have to know somebody, you got to get in, you got to get approval. Like, it's a whole process. And then, the invoice can be a net 30. It could be a net 60, it could be a net 90, depending. I mean, those are all terms you negotiate, but that company can legitimately not pay you for X amount of time. And so I did that for a while and accepted that I'm just not a corporate person anymore. Came back into the B2C, working with consumers in my business as it stands today. And as it stands today, it is a monthly membership. It's a membership so that women pay, or you can pay annual as well. But that money is just reoccurring monthly or annual revenue that comes in, and it's not predicated on my actual presence. It's not predicated on my actual, I mean, there's lots of things I do to run this business, but if I get sick or if I want to take a vacation, my business still continues.
Absolutely. And just a quick follow up on that one. How do you balance staying authentic with profit, especially in the wellness space where audiences are very, I say, opinionated?
Yes. How do I stay authentic, you said?
Yes.
Hmm. I don't think I can't be anything else. I don't have a poker face. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I'm not one of those. I could never be a politician. That's just not, I don't know how to be anything other than authentic. And I think that's the interesting thing about my business, is that over all the years, even as I tried to maybe hide the truth of who I am in order to be a better business person and to bring fitness to the market and all those things, who I am shows through. It just is. I'm such a woo-woo spiritual girly, like it's ridiculous, right? Like I can't hide me. And so I think if anything, my authenticity speaks louder than some of the things I tried to portray or tried to make an image. And so yeah, with me specifically, it's not an option. I have to be authentic.
I'm the same way too. And I just remember one of my former bosses said, she just does not have a poker face. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm just being myself. So, I mean, I don't know how to be anything other than just myself. So, and I can't be a politician either because of it. So, it's one of those things where I definitely understand where you're coming from. Now, again, leadership is another part of your message. How
Mhm.
does your definition of leadership evolve as a business, as your business has grown?
Oh, that's a good one. Leadership is kind of like my theme and my thing this year. Um, because I've really accepted that that is what's going to be required of me to really take this to the next level. And that might sound weird coming from corporate. I had, I used to be, this is what was confusing to me is that I used to be a vice president of HR. I had 50 employees indirectly reporting to me, 5 employees as direct reports. They were all directors. So I was leading directors. I was leading managers, had employees in all 50 states. I had a budget of a gazillion dollars. Like I led teams, I led people, I led us through COVID. Like I led, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, duh, I'm a leader. And then I became an entrepreneur. And leadership as an entrepreneur is completely different than it is leadership in corporate. And so for the first few years, I didn't understand that. I'm like, I'm me. I'm a VP. That identity, even though it didn't show up anywhere in my entrepreneur business, that was my identity. I'm the VP of HR. That's who you're talking to. Let me roll my neck. Like that was who I felt you needed to know you were addressing, but no one cares. Nobody cares when like nobody cares. And so I had to learn what leadership meant as an entrepreneur. I had to learn what leadership meant when I don't have credentials that matter. There's very few credentials in entrepreneurship that matter, honestly. Like even when you have a specialty, like being a therapist or a doctor, or like those things matter so you can do the practice. But being an entrepreneur, that has nothing to do with it. So credentials don't matter. And I didn't understand that because I'd been a woman chasing credentials, most of my life. And so I really had to redefine leadership. And it took a long time. And that's why I say literally 2026, the beginning of this year, I was like, I think I get it now. I understand what it means to be a leader as an entrepreneur in the market for my business. And so I've made that my mantra. And what that looks like, it means I go first. It means that I am saying a lot of things that might not make sense in the moment. But my goal as a leader is to get a group of people from here to here. And in order to get them from here to here, I'm not going to always be liked. I'm not going to always be understood. I'm not going to always be well received. Other times I'm going to be loved. People are going to follow automatically. There's going to be a whole mixed bag of people. But my leadership is not predicated on their receptivity. It's still me going first. Does that make sense? Like that's the best way I could put it. And so when I'm doing things and I'm like, oh, I don't see anyone else doing this. Can I do this? Should I test this? Or, maybe I should wait a little bit longer. Like as I'm having those conversations and I'm literally negotiating with myself and where I want to take my business, that's when I put my leader hat on. It's like, nope, I go first. It doesn't matter if anyone else is doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll find out after I do it. And then we'll go from there. And I think that's the major thing where, for my entire life up to that point, being a leader was about asking more questions in corporate and getting more data and piloting things and um getting permission. And it was very structured. And in entrepreneurship I've learned, no, I got to go do the thing, go first, learn from that experience, and help other people then navigate after I've gone first.
Absolutely. And I kind of did mine backwards. I working for the government, and I sure enough was in that, entrepreneur mindset because I thought I was supposed to go first in everything. I thought I was supposed to go out there and
Mhm.
learn the lessons for the entire agency, and that
Mhm.
literally just was not how it was set up. And
Mhm.
so that's what led me, through the stress and things like that, and eventually leaving the job because it was like, girl, you was already acting as an entrepreneur. You just literally, was maintaining this 9 to 5 in this title. And, so that's literally how I ended up in entrepreneurship. But I was doing, mine kind of backwards. I literally was going before everybody. I got to ask the hard questions. I got to figure out all the lessons, and it wasn't set up that way. It literally was
Yeah.
for each person to have their own, thing going and learning their own lessons and asking their own questions. And so I understand, but I did mine kind of backwards.
I can't even imagine in a government setting. It's even less entrepreneurial than corporate is. Like government is so, it's government. So I can't even imagine what you went through.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm telling you, if you hate micromanaging, don't ever work for the government. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's federal or state or city or county. Don't work for them folks if you can't stand micromanagement. So
Yeah.
we'll move on to the next question. So I think we've hit on this a few times throughout today's episode, but I do want to talk about mindset shifts because that is a lot that entrepreneurs have to go through because that's how we grow. So what mindset shifts helped you step into your next level?
Mm. There's so many. I think this might sound silly, but I think the biggest mindset shift is I like have to want it more than anybody else. I have to in my head be the I have to do it without proof. I have to um what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not grasping the word. It's more it's up to me. And I don't know how to say it any better than that because I guess what I'm contrasting that to is in corporate when you'd have a project or a job just in general that you're doing, you care about it. You want to do a good job, there's no question about that. But there's no like life or death on the other side of it. If someone doesn't like your project idea, if a project fails, you go over budget, you're late, whatever, like all of those things suck. But I mean, life kind of continues and you just pick up and you do the next one. Someone else ultimately kind of pays for that or wherever that shows up as being paid. Like it doesn't land with you, right? Like even as the VP, if we were over budget for hiring or something, like sure, slap on the wrist, whatever, but like someone else pays that. It's not me. In entrepreneurship, everything comes back to you. Like there's no escaping that. And so when I think about moving forward, I I am and have to be like the only one who truly cares enough to make it happen. And not just make it happen, but make it happen with care so that whatever fallout there may be, I mean, it's going to come back to me. So I have to be the one who deals with that. And so I guess it's just a different level of care at every step. And I'm the fuel the entire time. There's no marketing department to hand this off to. There's no finance department to figure out the budget for me. There's no admin to go run, these errands and return emails and phone calls. Like there's none of those things. And so like if I want to move something across the finish line, I have to be the one that does it all. And I'm fully accepting that and care at every step. I have to be every department and be a 10 in every department, or at least attempt a 10 in every department. And that is a completely different mental energy that's required of you than what I was doing in corporate. I think of any 9 to 5 where ultimately you're taking direction from somebody else. Did all of that make sense?
Yes, because I was about to say, I think it builds character as well because it's one
Oh
of
my God,
the things
yeah.
it's one of those things of where, you have a passion for something, but if you don't, learn how to balance your first checkbook, or if you don't learn how to write your first email, or, don't attempt to send out, newsletters, or however your industry is set up, then you won't necessarily know who to hire at the right time when you do start.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think that every entrepreneur needs to go through that phase of where you're the admin, you're the CEO, you're the president, you're, the decision maker, you're the graphic designer, you're the administrative assistant, you everybody. Just because if you do want to bring those types of people on later, you'll know exactly what you're looking for. You'll know exactly what's valuable, what's not, what aligns, what doesn't. And again, it literally builds your character, and it keeps you consistent too.
It does. And I think you just helped me figure out my words. It's that when I started the business, I knew I was a founder. I'm founding this business. I own this business. But there's a difference between being a founder and then a founder and a CEO. And I think the mindset shift, to answer your question, is putting on that CEO hat every day. And I've got to look at my business and say, how is marketing doing? How is finance doing? How is admin doing? How are these departments in my business doing? When you're, I think, at first building a business, all you're thinking about is the business, not the individual departments and the functions within the business. And so that has been a major thing where I have to literally sit down and I have my CEO hat moments where I'm like, okay, CEO for the next hour, what does CEO Cassandra do for the body ministry versus admin Cassandra versus marketing Cassandra? And I put on those different hats. And so the mindset is literally putting on different identities within my business to make it all happen. But I will say AI really helps with that too, because I've got agents set up to be those different things. And so it's just easier to help compartmentalize when you can see it outside of you living as a department. So, yeah.
And I know a lot of people out here because, again, we just talked about wearing all the hats. So I know a lot of people want to know, how do you protect your own health and well-being while still leading a brand that's centered around those same exact values?
Um, it's the inverse of what you said. It's not how do I protect my health and well-being while I do these things. It's because I protect my health and well-being that I'm able to do these things. That's never gone anywhere. I would not be here without my health and well-being. I wouldn't have been a VP of HR. I wouldn't be an entrepreneur 5 years in. If it weren't for those things, I would have crashed out a long time ago. My nervous system would have been down some, like living in lava. Like it's just not possible. Like I'm here only because of that. And that's why I feel so strongly and know so deeply that this is a service that every woman needs, is the understanding and the guidance and the mentorship that taking care of your body is is the foundation for everything else. If once you have this, you build from there and everything is so much easier. Not perfect, but I now know how to navigate everything in a healthy way. So as I have these self-limiting beliefs as an entrepreneur, as I've had to change and pivot my branding, my business, my positioning, as I've had great sales months and no sales months, as I've navigated all of the things everyone does, I do so in a healthy way. And so that is what allows me to get up day after day and continue going and feel like I've got endless energy for this journey because I literally do.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love how you said that, because I mean, that's literally what it goes back to, y'all. I mean, you got to build that health, the health and the well-being before, I say before stepping into entrepreneurship,
I'm
because
with you.
burnout is a real thing. And if you're a person that's going to have to carry every single one of those hats we just named, you definitely need to be in alignment with what your body is telling you, when you need your rest, when you need your off days, when you need to take a vacation. You need to know the difference between all of those things, because I'm telling you, burnout is a real thing. And I've seen people just quit and, never come back because they burned out from it. But that was a great point to make, because I did the same thing. I had to get that health and wellness in before stepping out into entrepreneurship. And that's how I'm able to maintain two podcasts, a blog, be a student and a mother and an author all at the same time. Because
Yeah.
I literally knew how to set myself up. I knew how many days I could do per week. I knew how many hours I could give per week. I knew how to, literally take days off. I had it all set up, all planned in my head, and I literally just stick to it now because I know myself and I know my body. So thank you
Yeah.
again for bringing that one up because I'm telling
Yeah.
you, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're an entrepreneur or thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, what you need to understand is that your health is your greatest competitive advantage. And it's from an energy standpoint, it's from a focus standpoint, it's from time management and all of those things, right? Like not having aches and pain. Like it's all of those things, but for women specifically, it's the confidence you didn't know you needed. Or maybe you did, but you don't know where to get it. We get ready for business events or working with clients, and we fix our hair and our makeup and we wear all the things to suck ourselves in and hike ourselves up, and we do all of those things and we look good and we probably feel good, but we also know, I don't know what you know, but you know something. And you know that it doesn't sit well with you how you have to put on and build up your confidence and put on the performance of confidence. Every woman knows what I'm talking about. And what your health and well-being does is it eliminates that. I never think about my body. I never think about how I look, not because or only because I invest in it daily. What's to think about? I've got that energy back. You know what I mean? And so like there's the confidence that comes from just heavily investing in yourself and knowing that it's like this invisible wind at your back, this invisible cheering squad or this invisible just confidence that you're able to carry because you are a woman who takes care of herself. Who's going to fuck with you? No one can, because that's just who you are. And there's that level of confidence that I bring into everything that I do that I don't think women realize they're missing because they don't take care of themselves. And so, yeah, like the health and wellness will end up being your greatest competitive advantage in business if you decide to use it. It's literally an investment in your body that becomes an investment in your business.
Absolutely. And I do want to get some advice from you from right now for my women who are looking to build a business in fitness. It could be pretty much any industry. What are the biggest misconceptions you think they need to unlearn right now?
Mm. The biggest misconception I think most women need is that you, this is going to sound silly or simple, but you can do it. You can do it. And I know that you can. And from there, that thought breaks off into a million different reasons as to why you won't, why you think somebody else should, why it's not the right time. There's a whole bunch of narratives that then get spawned off from like, oh, I know I can, and then it's but, and then it's all of these things. And I think eliminate the but. It's just you can do this. And I think the worst feeling in the world is regret. And I don't want women to feel like regret isn't possible for them because what they have right now is good enough. Like, I think there's this thing about being, and we should be grateful and appreciative and thankful for what we have. And so, this is really what it is. And so, we don't let the desires of our heart lead. We don't let our goals lead us because, and we think, oh, I know I can, and then it's but all of the things. And I think that's the misconception there is that you, even though you know you can, you're just happy with this and you're just happy with that, and I'm good, and you will have regrets. You will. I'm just going to go ahead and say that definitively. You will have regrets. And I think one of the things that drives me is being a Black woman today with the opportunities that I have that my mother didn't have. Just my mother, not to mention my grandmother and great grandmother and all the women that came before her who have who didn't even have regrets. They didn't even have the opportunity, but I'll be damned if I have regrets when I have opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, why have regrets? You have opportunity. Those two don't have to go together. And so the misconception is that you should just be happy. You should just, or that even though you know that you can, and then whatever your reasons for not, um, that those desires that are placed on your heart are there for a reason, and they're not silly, and they're not inconvenient, and they're not unrealistic, and they're not delusional. It's the truest thing about you. It's the most honest thing about you. Your brain and all the thoughts you're thinking is just regurgitated old patterns and history and old stuff. The truest, most honest thing about you is what you feel in your heart. And I think women don't give themselves enough permission to explore. You don't even have to follow it necessarily, but be curious about it, unpack it, give it room to breathe, and see what happens from there. And so I think if you're a woman listening to this, um, whether you started your business or not, just know that whatever that desire is on your heart, it's there for a reason. I could go into a whole story about what I believe that is. I'll save that for another time. Just know that it's there for a reason and that it does not need to be explained away or dismissed. Like the call to action is for you to birth it, to give it life, give it room to grow. That's always the best next step. It's to listen to whatever's been placed on your heart.
Absolutely. I love that. So, sis, if you thinking about it or if you have, stop down yourself, believe in yourself,
Yeah.
keep going because
Yeah.
you will get there. It's a reason why you have that vision. And as long as you're willing to keep expanding on it, it eventually blow into whatever it is that you might consider what success is. Because for some people it's $1 million. For some people it's literally helping their community out. And for some it's just literally leaving a legacy behind for their family. Now, speaking of legacy, we have reached the end of today's episode, and we always leave with a legacy here on About Her Business. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about this one. When it's all said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Ooh. Oh, my heart's leaping. Um, there's two main feelings that come up. It's women knowing how special they are. It's women knowing how special they are. I know how special I am. I know how divine I am. I know how unique and individualized and just a, 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 a divine aspect of God I am. I know that I'm an earthbound goddess. And I know that though because of my body. I came into that full knowing through getting to know and taking care of my physical body. And that has equipped me and given me access to a world that I otherwise wouldn't have access to because I didn't know who I was. And I want every woman to know who she is. And then, therefore, let the world be open to her. And in her doing that, raise other women, her daughters, her goddaughters, her nieces, in her light, not in her shadow, but to raise them in her light so that those little girls grow up fully accepting and not questioning for a second their divinity, and that is the legacy of women and passing on wisdom. It's sometimes through words, but more than anything it's just through embodiment and the real day-to-day living that these young women get to observe and be a part of. And so the legacy is that it's just, showing women who they are so that they can step more fully into themselves, and in doing so raising the next generation of little goddesses.
That's a beautiful legacy to leave behind. And sadly, you guys, we've reached the end of today's episode. But before we go, we're going to get all of Miss Juniphant right. Get all of Juniphant's information. So let us know again how we can find the Body Ministry. Let us know how we can find you on the socials. Let us know all your details, and don't forget to let us know about the Mystic event that's taking place in July.
Absolutely. So you can find me at enterthebodyministry.com. On socials, it is The Body Ministry. You can also find me at Cassandra Juniphant. And the Mystic's going to take place on Tuesday, July 14th. It's the first new moon after the summer solstice. And I'm big into the energies of the cosmos. And so I really hope that you're going to be there. This is my first event where it's an intuitive reading, and it really is a channel from the divine about your body and what it means and how to access your higher self. And I couldn't be more excited about this experience and sharing it with the women who feel called to be there. So I hope you are there.
Absolutely. And I will be leaving all that information down in the description box below. Any final words before we adjourn today's meeting?
Yeah, I like to leave women with this one thought, and it's that when you have a calling on your life, you must protect it with your health. A lot of times we get really excited about things and say, "Oh, I die for this and I die for that." And I'm always like, "Sis, no one's asking you to do that. You don't need to be a martyr." The call to action here is, will you live healthy for it? So whatever it is that you love, you must protect it with your health.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to the founder and the CEO of the Body Ministry, Miss Cassandra Juniphant, for coming on and sharing her insights. And you be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive podcasts so you never miss whenever we upload. Also, leave me some comments down in that comment section on which industry you think I should interview next. Until next time, keep your goals tight, your circle tighter, and that bank account growing.